Welcome to Brainless Geek's first ever session of Dungeons & Dragons. Campaign's called Long Live the Silver Blades. And we're going to show you how we play D&D. So our rules are a little bit different. It's kind of like a mesh between 3.5, 2nd, 3rd Ed, and everything that's awesome. It's based on a world called Parl that we have created. I started it, and the players you see right now around this table were all part of that creation process. They have played characters in every part of it in the living campaign. We're here to have fun, and our production value is not the highest, but we love what we do. We love the game. We threw this all together. Nobody helped us. It was just us, the people you see before you. I just punched the microphone. And, you know, we get a little rambunctious and a little rowdy, but we do what we do, and we love it. I got my buddy Jay. He'll be playing Mock, who is a awesome bugbear fighter. We'll get into character. Yeah, he's pretty awesome. We got Santa. That's what I call him. That's Santa. Santa's playing Garwin the Bard. He's a two-man bard that's like, how tall are you?
6'4".
He's 6'4", and he's a bard. And he's as big as a brick shit house. We got my brother Bryce, who we playing Ayan Omalaman, a water wizard. It's pretty cool. We got Alicia, directly across from me, who will be playing Lemon. Her actual name is
Lamina Owls.
Lamina Owls, and she goes by Lemon. She's like this big, and she's got bright yellow hair, hence the lemon part. In this direction is my wife, my lovely wifey, who is playing Beatrice. who is an archer. And then we have my editor slash brother-in-law slash this guy, who will be playing Jard Keldon of the notorious Keldon family. Womanizing.
Notorious is a bit much at this point.
Is it? Is it a bit much? Waste. So what does Garland look like?
Garland is a big, fit man. He's athletic. He has a large beard of dark green eyes. Pretty long hair.
Okay. And he's Tumen, correct?
And he's a Tumen, yes.
Okay, the Tumen race, for those who do not know, is from Parl, and they are the closest resembling to our world to Mongoloid people. And so they're a darker skin tone, a ruddier complexion. They tend to be bigger people, like genetically just like a larger built people.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not from the Tumen lands, or is he?
He's been traveling so long, he doesn't know exactly what land he actually came from.
Yeah. But he definitely knows he's Tumen, based on his, like, the structure of his body, the skin tone. Your hair is a little more wiry.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's like you have like a long beard, it's like wiry because of this the way the Tumen is.
And he does realize he is a Tumen because he did run into him and he understands the language.
There we go.
So he figures, well, that must be what they were. All right.
I remember these words.
I remember these words.
Got a few recipes from them, and on my way.
Yeah. And so just for reference, for those of us who know the numbers, what is your character strength?
18.
18.
18.
And he's a bard. So the bugbear guard, you'd like to describe him?
A giant burly mass, 18 strength, 6'8" bugbear, 280 pounds. I'd like to imagine him just ripped out of his mind. Who is a womanizing, doesn't give a fuck about anybody else type of man. Just likes the finer things in life, like cigars.
He's a hedonist.
Booze, and yes.
He's a hedonist.
Yeah.
He likes the pleasures of life. I get you. Parl bugbears are furry. They're covered in fur, like not like a shaggy fur, but like a medium layer of fur. They have massive eyebrows.
Yes.
Not the ridge, but like
giant
eyebrow fur,
furry
like
eyebrows
comes
that
off.
come off onto off of his eyebrows, and he has like a white eagle type shape on his chest out of his fur. But other than that, all of his fur is burgundy red.
Brown chicken.
Yes, brown chicken, brown. And he dual wields maces.
What do you look like, Lemon?
Tiny. I am 5'3", weigh 96 pounds. Got blue eyes.
Uh-huh.
And the most prominent thing about me is my exceptionally yellow blonde hair that is in a like 6-inch thick braid that goes to my ankles. I
Nice.
use it as a scarf when I get cold. Okay. But yeah,
Whack.
she is tiny. She's just your standard robes, and she does have her symbol of Rallis and Rhea, and then a small necklace with her family crest on it.
Okay. All right.
Really,
Okay.
pretty nondescript for the most part. 5'9", 100. I mean, he's a wizard, so he spent his entire life sitting indoors reading books. So extremely pale.
He looks it.
Yeah, he looks it. Green eyes, black hair. His hair is unkempt most of the time, but you see it everywhere because he doesn't care. Pretty attractive, but he doesn't.
Depends on who you saw.
He's just so
He'd be like
oblivious
really
most of the
attractive if
time.
he took care of it.
Right, because he has
Okay.
13 charisma.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
So if he wanted to be, he could be a pretty boy.
wears
How many
blue
places
robes,
can
obviously,
we
and a blue fez, because that is what water builders are.
Blue fez all the way.
All right. I'm also 5'9",
It's like they're related.
and brown hair, brown eyes, light skinned, have a clockwork leg. I only have a 9 charisma, but that is just because I'm awkward.
And the way we run it, and different people run different ways. Charisma is a mixture of speaking ability and looks. You can have 18 charisma, and someone says, "How you doing?" And you're like, "I'm and like
Yeah.
not know how to talk.
Mine isn't my looks, it's more like just I'm kind of awkward.
Jard is 6 foot, about 172 pounds. Pretty lean. He's got an average 10 strength, so not like burly, but human. Very dexterous, kind of
He
lanky.
used to think he was tall, and then he ran into us.
Yeah, no, like I'm feeling small in this group. And he's got blue eyes, brown hair, light complexion. He's standard Garlandian, so he keeps his hair pulled back in a short ponytail. Yeah, that's about it, really.
He's got the smolder.
He's got
So, we like to do prologue scenes. Sometimes people think that it gives extra information to the players, but I think it's good to kind of set the tone. And so if the players are really smart, they'll listen in. But I trust my players enough that none of my players metagame. They know, like, if they hear something, they like me to do these. These are not common in Dungeons & Dragons to do, like, a prologue, but it is what it is. But we're going to start our session here in a second, and we hope you all enjoy it. A long stone hallway. The floor is cut flagstone, and the walls are more like block stone. Lanterns line the walls, spaced evenly apart, not torches. The ceiling is slightly vaulted. This hallway is large. Multiple people could pass back and forth across it. Open doors in every direction. Creatures in cages sit in one room. Strange beings that look like a mix between like 3 different entities, a monkey and a bird, like mashed together in some sort of horrible transmutation, sit in a cage. In another room across the way, there are cauldrons and phylacteries and glassware that bubble and froth with all sorts of chemicals that intermix and change between them. Figures in cowls and hoods and robes, long flowing robes of gray, black, blue, and all assortment of colors, mill about, comparing notes out of ancient tomes amongst each other in the separate rooms, and staring at the creatures inside the cages. We're in some sort of large, possibly laboratory, or like the entrance hall to a large laboratory. Down the hall, a wizard quietly whispers to another one. He wears a large pendant that shimmers with magical energy across his chest. It changes from like blue to green to red. It glows almost through underneath his long gray beard that hangs down. The wizard he speaks to has a shorter black curly beard, and they speak in these hushed tones. No one is being super loud. They're all like just being kind of quiet. But there are so many bodies moving and talking around this area that it's almost deafening, and it's low, monotone, like hum. Like I said, every once in a while there'll be like a splash of magic or like some sort of alchemical sound from a room that's obviously an apothecary lab or like an alchemical chemistry lab. and there'll be like a bang or a fizz, and it kind of like shoots out color and spray into the massive hallway. Or in the other room, some creature will get mad at another one in its simple iron cage and screech and scrock and make all sorts of noises. But those are the only other like outlier noises. At the very end is a huge iron door, a double door, a beautiful door gilded in gold and silver. It's locked. We can see the huge deadbolt-like latch on it closed, and a strange like shimmer of magic that runs around the outside of the door, like kind of along the gilding. And it's almost timed. You can watch it almost kind of like go across and then come back, and then go across and then come back. There's obviously something up with this door. It's obviously some sort of warding, something to keep people in or possibly out. The two wizards that I before mentioned are both standing close to this door. The one with the long gray beard is standing facing outwards towards us, if you will, our vision of looking down this hallway. He's standing there and he's looking kind of nervously back at the door over and over again as he's speaking to the wizard ahead of him. It's not until we, as the unexisting observers, get closer that we begin to hear them speak. The man with the black beard says, "So is she really in there?" And he kind of like looks at the door. The man with the gray beard puts his hands together and says, "Yes." He goes, "So what did you hear about her?" The other wizard says, "They found her outside of this township down south, next to the border, next to Fort Hammer." He goes, "The entire city was destroyed, and she was just sitting on a stump outside the burned city. Just sitting there." "Yes, I heard she turned herself in. Without a fight." "Yes, without a fight. If she destroyed that entire city, there's no way they could have stopped her." Both the men kind of look at the door for a moment. Another figure begins to come down the hallway. This wizard is taller and broader built. He's got kind of large shoulders for someone who should have been sitting in a library studying tomes all of his life. He's kind of built more like you'd see someone who probably bucked hay and worked a farm his entire life. His head is completely shaved bald and is covered in all sorts of weird, mystical-looking tattoos. The tattoos swirl. They don't actually move, but they look like swirls around his head. As he walks down the hallway, the doors, as he walks, they all begin to close. Now, you don't know if other people are closing these doors or if they're simply somehow closing because he's walking past them. But he walks with the walk of a man who is on a mission. As he walks down the hallway, these doors go and just close. And the actual lanterns dim. He yells out, he says, "You two!" He says in a stern voice, and he's all clean shaven. He looks a lot younger than these other two wizards. They look up and one says, "Ah, Master Inquisitor," and he like bows his head. The other guy, the wizard closest to the door, still unnamed, now realizing who he's speaking to, also bows his head slightly. Not like in a full-on like regal bow, but in like a, this guy deserves respect, and I need to be really appropriate around him. So he lowers his head. Man says, "Any visitors?" "No, Master Inquisitor." Inquisitor says, "Leave me." "Are you?" "I said leave me," he says. The two wizards kind of like skirt around after a few awkward steps because the guy's not getting out of their way and he's just kind of standing in the middle of the hallway, just standing there. This Inquisitor wears black robes. His cowl is down and the robes are attached by golden ropes that go across his chest. You can see armor under him, so he is actually wearing, looks to be like a ringmail. He is dressed in higher status clothing, as to say that you can see the shirt under his armor is made of silk. His pants are clean. His boots are polished. Now, the only people in this day and age that have polished boots and clean clothes are people who have the money. So he obviously is doing very well in his life. Although he carries no outward sign of like a weapon. He doesn't have a lot of rings or like extra adornment, which is strange because usually people who are wealthy like to do that. Regardless, the two other wizards scurry away, leaving him in a dimly lit hallway in front of this door. He puts his hand up to the door. He doesn't grab the bolt. He puts his hand up to the door and closes his eyes and turns his head this way. and you watch that magical field, that's kind of that magical trim line that's going back and forth, stop. At this time, the creatures in the in the rooms behind you, in the transmutation rooms, begin to go crazy. They begin to scream and roar and panic, and they sound like they're attacking each other. He undoes the bolt manually, slides it down, and he pushes the door open. The huge iron doors move as though either some other force is helping them, or they're either built really well, and so the doors kind of like are balanced so much that you could just like push them open, or he's super strong. Either way, these giant doors like this thick just kind of like open. They don't make a sound. There's no creak. There's no nothing. This is a circular room. There were only two things in this room: a stool and a woman sitting on the stool. The light comes from the stone room. The light comes from the top of the room, but yet from nowhere at all. It seems as though just like the roof emits light, like a soft glow. Imagine, if you will, that the roof of this inner room is peaked with long stone slabs that come up to make like a circle, like a peaked roof inside. There are no windows. There is a grate under the stool. She is chained to the floor in her seated position by the ankles and by the neck. The chains are not tight, but she can't move very far from the stool. Her hands are in anti-magical cuffs. So long, rounded, smoothly polished metal mittens, if you would, without thumb holes, that are clasped together, that she's just sitting. She wears a deepest of red cloak, without a hood, but a fur lining that goes around the neck. On this side, whatever creature this was the creature this was that made up this fur line had three heads, because the three small fox-like heads are on this side of it, and the tail's on this side of it. Almost like they took an animal, took its fur, and she turned that into the fur lining of this cloak. Her hair only starts from here, and it's like in long braids. Up here is shaved short, and she shaved triangles into it. To people in Parl, Maryland, this is a strange hairstyle, and immediately it like draws attention to itself. Her skin is almost glossy, almost like something between tan and like a metallic blue. And even the soft glow of the light from the ceiling reflects off of it slightly. She has deep black circles under her eyes. But she doesn't look like she's been like abused or tortured or beaten in any way. She looks completely fine and fit and able. Her robes are so big that you can't see what she's wearing under it other than the clasps. And she looks exceptionally tall. The doors lie open. The sounds of the room behind you still hear the chemical sounds and such. And with that, the Inquisitor, as we now know him, turns around and, wanting silence, puts a finger up, and probably using some sort of cantrip or spell that requires him no actual verbal components. The doors actually close behind him, deafening the sounds. Now you can only faintly hear the screeching and the bubbling of the cauldrons. He walks in and he says, "So," he stares at her. He goes, "Have you changed your mind on answering any of my questions?" He folds his arms in front of him, and he begins to slowly walk around her in the circular room. She's still sitting, her head hung low, and she just sits there. He asks her again, "So," raising his voice as though she didn't hear him the first time, "are you going to answer my questions? Or am I going to have to make you answer my questions?" With that, we see her smile. But we see that her sides of her mouth curl up and then curl around, which should be completely impossible, as her wicked grin turns into some sort of nightmarish, like, curled, I don't know how to explain it. As the DM, I can't even explain it. It's like this weird curled grin. You see a tongue slip out, almost like a snake, and go back and forth from her mouth. And he goes, "She says, I'd like you to make me. That's all she says. She never moves her head up. The Inquisitor is frustrated. He goes, I do not think you know who you're dealing with. And he starts to walk towards her. She says, nor you I. He steps directly up to her. She whispers, that's right, closer. The Inquisitor is very close now. He puts his hand up and we see electricity go and start to course through his hand. I guess he's going to want to make her. The electricity coursing through her hand reflects off the slick stone walls, and the whole room begins to light up blue. Her mouth begins to like just draw a gape, almost like in a weird sense of enjoyment. And we see rows, not a row, rows of like tiny, sharp, almost like shark teeth. We see like one row and then another row, but her jaw almost like unhinges and drops down as she begins to smile. Now the Inquisitor is so just entranced with his own spell that he's casting as he mouths the words silently. And then he looks over and he sees her and he tilts his head. And at the moment that he tilts his head and looks at her, right, she goes and just breaks the shackles. The magical shackles they snap apart. And he takes a step back. He immediately, he's a trained Inquisitor, he goes to strike at her with whatever spell he's prepared in his hand, right? And he does. He places his hand on her shoulder. There's an explosion of electricity. Like a transformer in the real world, just exploded. Sparks fly in every direction. His clothes are thrown back and there's like sparks from almost like welding sparks blow into his face as he goes like this, and she falls over. She hits the ground. Blam! There's a dull like thud as she hits the ground. The stool tips over. The stool ignites into flame. The wooden stool begins to burn from the electricity. He steps back and he looks down and he goes, tell me what you've done! He yells down at her. And she's sitting there and she just starts to kind of like move. Is she laughing? What is she doing? She's just kind of like going like this as she's laying on the floor. Almost like she looks like she's pulsing. Well, she's laughing. She goes, but it's a weird laugh that we wouldn't like. It's a strange, almost like alien laugh to us, and it's more creepy in her just going, or perhaps she's breathing hard because she just took a direct lightning bolt to the shoulder. She gets up on her hands and knees, and he begins to do it again with his left hand. And he goes, I will force the information out of you. She looks down at the chains holding her, and they are just the slightest red from the heat. And she goes, snap! And breaks the chains from her right hand, trying to chain her to the floor. Or it's actually the ones from her neck, because it was her feet and her neck. She just snaps it. He made him just hot enough that with her strength, which obviously she's incredibly strong. I mean, these were chains, and she just breaks them. She stands up, and she just lifts her right leg up, and when she does, she just snaps the manticle or the link that attaches to the stone floor. The bolts shear right off. She probably could have escaped at absolutely any time that she wanted to. At absolutely any time. The Inquisitor takes a few steps back, and you can see the sweat kind of bead from his brow because he just realized that he is done effed up. He tosses the lightning bolt from his hand as he says the magical words, the draconic words to summon the magic. And the lightning bolt courses across the room. Bolts of lightning strike in every direction, and it hits her in the chest. And she slides backwards. She's sliding backwards as she looks up, and she begins to open her maw of teeth. And that's when he realizes that she's not actually being damaged. And he does it again, and he screams, and he's forcing every ounce of magic energy he has out of his body into her. And she's sliding backwards. But she just ends up hitting the wall. And then she reaches across. The chain is now taut from her left leg. She reaches across, or she reaches down, hooks the manticle, or the because remember, her hands are still inside these actual magical gauntlets that are supposed to impede magic and stop you from being able to do anything. She reaches down, hooks it under the chain, and snaps it off. She starts to walk towards the Inquisitor. He turns around and magically summons the door open. He goes like this. The door flings open. She narrows her brow ridge, and it narrows a lot, like more than it should. And the door's closed. He hits the door. You hear the door lock from the outside.
Oh. Well, he did.
Nice. Bye.
She takes those magical gauntlets and she goes, BAM! And they crack a little bit. She takes a couple more steps. BAM! They crack a little bit more. And she starts to laugh. She's doing that like, oh, so I called it a laugh because how do we equate that to human speech?
Oh my God.
She's walking forward. The last time she hits it, those magical gauntlets shatter. It's blow apart, revealing her long, spindly fingers. He turns around, realizing that he's now in fight or flight mode. He is an Inquisitor. He's going to fight. He can't get away. So he begins to summon a spell. He begins to swirl his hands around. He begins to make the incantation, saying the old word, as it were, and a ball of flame spews into existence. It kind of swirls out of nothingness, drawing the heat and the atoms from around it, the ethereal, into it as it starts to, right? And she puts her hand out. Her fingers are like 2 times longer than they should be. It's horrifying. And there's an extra joint in there. And she puts her fingers out and she goes like this, and you watch the fireball go and just disappear. And he's like trying to summon it, but obviously he's met his magical match. Like she's just negating his spells as she wishes. She takes her right hand, puts it forward, and he just goes, and he's just frozen. He's like this. He can move his eyes. We can watch the beads of sweat drip off his face as the terror fills him, but he can't move. He stands in front of this door with his right leg against the door, his body facing forward, his hands in the middle of casting this incantation, and he can't move. We can watch his chest kind of heave slightly as the panic and the adrenaline begin to set in, knowing that he cannot move. She walks up to him, and she lifts him off the ground by like grabbing him by the back and going like this. So he stays in stasis as he goes whoop, starts to like spin in the air, as though she has frozen time around him. So he's like just kind of free-floating, spinning. She leans over into his ear. She says quietly, "You think that you could kill a god and simply get away with it?" And you see his eyes kind of get really wide. He's as he's spinning in midair, and she pauses him with her hand while he's like his ears facing her. He's kind of floating there as this weird humanoid monstrosity is like having him float there in the air. She says, "You humanoids, you mortals, think that you can just kill things greater than you, like gods, and we will abide by and simply let you do it?" Her long tongue slicks out and like drags across his face, circles around his ear, and then sucks back into her mouth. By now, his heart's about to explode. You can see the panic. His eyes are moving back, like his eyes are just in that like complete panic mode, moving around. She goes, "I am not going to kill you." She goes, "Because you need to send a message." She goes, "I have come from vengeance, and I am going to kill your world. Piece by piece, I will destroy everyone, every people, every species." She goes, "Until I have achieved vengeance." She goes, "And then, when everyone is dead, every living thing on this entire world," she goes, "then my brother will have vengeance." And with that, she just waves her hand and he goes to the ground. Thud! He goes, he's looking around. She grabs the doors and just pulls them open. You hear the handle on her side snap as she just pulls them open. And she starts walking down the hallway. She goes, and you can see like blood pouring out of his nose, but yet she never did anything to him. Blood begins to pour out of his ears slightly. He is so panicked that there's nothing he can do. He just kind of like shimmies up to the wall and puts himself against it and kind of looks around. She begins to walk down the hallway. What's wrong, Neil?
What?
She begins to walk down the hallway. She passes to the right, like she knows where she's going. Because she probably does. And she comes up to another door. Wizards turn the corner and start coming down. Stop! One of them yells. She turns around and looks at them. Whoosh! And shoot a jet of flame shoots from her hands and incinerates them. They burn screaming as their flesh boils off and they're on fire. They begin to scream and run around. We cut scene. She's standing at a set of doors that have been blown open by some sort of impressive magic. They look like someone took a can opener, just like twisted a metal door open. Behind her are bodies. Bodies of people that obviously were trying to stop her. They are delimbed. They are burned. They are melted. They cover the walls and the floor, the blood. It looks like some sort of... It was a massacre. In front of her are jail cells. She walks up to the first cell and she looks in. There, sitting on inside of a normal cell, not like the one that she was in, but in a normal cell, is a dark-skinned human man who has the blood dragon's tattoo on his forehead. And he looks up and he goes, "Who are you?" he says, from the little slide opening door that she's opened. She goes, "I am your new master." And he goes, "Ha!" He goes, "I don't have no master." The door slightly opens. She steps in. She's so incredibly tall, she has to kind of move in and then stand up when she enters the room. He looks up and he goes, "Oh, Jace." He goes, "You're really tall," he says, obviously. Maybe this guy's not meant for brains, who knows? He's pretty physically fit. He's, for being someone who's been in prison, he's got just his cot thing that he sits on, the chains that hold him there. She walks up and she leans into him in this dirty cell and she says, "How would you like to get out of this place?" she says, in her wicked, kind of wisping, snake-like tongue. He goes, "Of course I would." She goes, "Under one condition. You serve me now." She goes, "I am your god." He goes, "Excuse me, weird, long-armed lady," he says, not knowing what she is. He goes, "I don't serve no gods." He goes, "I'm blood dragon through and through." And with that, she grabs him by the neck in this lightning quick, unnatural, unhuman kind of speed. And he kind of... She says, "I don't think you understand." She goes, "You can either conserve me," she goes, "and help me get my vengeance," she goes, "or I can kill you. Either way, I am still your god." He makes a judgment call in the moment. And he goes, yeah, all right, yeah, oh, yep. He goes, "You're the goddess, I serve you." She lets go. She grabs his chains and she snaps them. Like grabbing a pencil and just snapping at your fingers.
Oh, no, fucking
He stands up and he goes, "All right then, ooh." He goes, "What?" He goes, she walks to the next cage over, and she opens her and goes, "Are we letting them all go?" And she goes, "Of course." She goes, "I need to build an army," she says. Then he goes, "All right then, what do I call you?" As he steps out of the hallway, and she goes, "Call me Hextophilia." Garwin,
Yes.
your 5th day on the road. You've been heading on the King's Highway towards a city called New Thur. You've never been to New Thur, but from the stories you've been told, it has some of the largest and most prolific hops and wheat fields and barley in all of northern Garland, of all of Garland proper. The highway is used so often it's full of ruts. As much as the Garlandian military tries to repair the roads and things like that, it's so heavily traveled. It's a main merchant thoroughfare. But on this day, you find the road mostly empty. There you walk Your arms carrying your portable kitchen slash, I don't know, what would you call it? Merchant?
My
Your food wagon.
My food wagon.
Your food
It's
wagon.
What do they call it?
Rickshaw?
It's like a rickshaw. If you were to
Okay,
put a tiny kitchen on a cart and just had a monster of a man actually carrying it himself.
Yes. I actually wear a harness
A harness. Okay.
to stabilize the thing while I'm moving on down there. It also gives my whole body into it instead of just my arms.
Okay.
Makes the travel easier.
The road slopes up, and you're now at the peak and taking the breaks. There you stand. Down below you can see the road slopes down, and there's a large, huge collection of pine trees to your left, down this hill. And you see this city. The city is walled. The defensive structures are impressive of this walled city. And you can see from this angle up on this hill that there's another wall within the wall. Almost like it's sectored out into like districts, possibly. The walls are impressive. Definitely tall enough to hold off like your average force. Maybe not a giant, but brigands, yes. The crops, the fields, stretch in the other direction because you're kind of coming from like a hilly terrain. You're coming from what technically would be the north. New Thur is such a big city that you can see the roads in all four cardinal directions coming and meeting this city. So it's kind of a merchant transport hub.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the bustle, but those hops fields and the barley and the wheat,
We're
they
off to the
stretch
south?
off in the south. It's like almost forever.
Mm-hmm.
A blue sky above you, the Garlundian, the Parl sun, and a heavy cloud cover that passes quickly, giving like spots of like brilliant daylight, and then cool like overshadowing of clouds. The animal life all around you is buzzing, and the birds chirp as they fly around the Garlundian high grass, which is like basically wild wheat that stands like chest length to a tall person like myself, or a short person like myself. I try to say I was tall, I lied. Our 18 strength, a mountain of a man with this harness carrying this rickshaw behind him.
Yes.
And like I said,
with,
you can
with,
see...
with smoke dribbling out the back because he has his ovens going, smoking his meat because slow and long is the way to go.
So wherever Garwin travels,
My man.
you can have the smell of smoked meats.
Yes.
You know, that's a plus to any party.
Well, except for when somebody's hunting the smell of smoked meats. They had troll smells
Why can't we
everywhere.
hide from the dragon, guys?
I don't know.
You've come to New Thur to try your wares here, and hoping that the plentiful
I
crossroads.
figured the huge fields of hops have lots of employees. And if I can put my little cart between them and theirs end, I might be able to make a profit
There you go.
and give good food.
So you begin to enter down into the city.
Yes.
Jard, your stomach grumbles. Oh, there's food in front of you. But watching the bowl sit at the bottom of the jail cell with the bread that's been husked out, because the guard thinks it's funny to husk out the bread and eat it and then give you the bread husk, and watching the two maggots, you don't know who's actually being punished more. Is it the guard who ate the bread not knowing there was maggots in it, or is it you for having a bread husk with maggots in it? As the little maggots crawl around the outside of the bread husk. And the soup, you can roughly call it soup. You could make a joke and call it soup, but it's probably not soup. Sitting in the bowl, it's been slid under the door to your cell.
This be not soup.
This be not soup.
I would have a real good meal unless you had
Casually push it to the side. I don't know. Look for rocks to eat.
As you look around the room, not really for rocks to eat,
Not gonna
the
be
cell
that.
is like a 4x6. You have a old wooden splintery bed that is hung by chains from the wall. We've all seen those in movies, correct? The chains that run from the wall that hold the wooden slat up, right? And you have a hole in the floor that you are supposed to use to, you know, do your thing.
Don't
But
put food in there.
you pick up the bowl and dump it in there. You're devoid of gear.
And they call it the
You have your clothes because you were able to
There
twist
you
your words
go.
and use your silver tongue to get them to at least not let you not be like mostly naked. And you have a little window that looks out to the street above, so you can constantly hear people walking about and see like their feet. But it's not big enough for you to get your hands through. It's like 4 little bars. It smells of sweat, sorrow, more sweat, and human fluids.
So soup.
So soup.
So soup.
Smells like soup to me.
Smells like soup to me. So you recall how you got here?
And how do you spell your
Trying to
name?
get away from your family's name when it doesn't help you.
J-A-H-R-D.
You came to New Thur to start anew. A new alias, a new city, a new place to field your craft, as it were. In other words, making yourself rich and famous by any means possible. Well, the problem is that your face, it's well known. And what's your charisma score?
15.
Yeah, so it's also pretty. So being that it's well known and it's pretty, and you're kind of you didn't think that your name would have traveled this far. Oh, were you wrong? So when you were recognized, that kind of made you famous. It also made the noblewoman that you were pretending to be in love with that was also famous and wealthy, so that you could kind of bilk her out of some funds. She knew who you were, and so you were arrested. Now, you don't really know what crime you... Well, no, you do. You were pretending to be a noble. You weren't. Oh, yeah, that's punishable by,
Really
harsh
illegal.
prison time. So,
Wait, you already knew.
I was pretending to be a noble of a different...
I mean, in medieval times, that's like one of the worst crimes you can
Absolutely.
commit.
Basically, I'm trying to be...
Any noble
Brad
but
Pitt.
his noble.
Well, Brad Pitt's being Brad Pitt.
And then Brad Pitt
Well-
finds out. Brad Pitt's like, what the fuck?
if you find someone of noble birth that you can pretend you're someone else politically and get, married to them or get them to give you gifts, it's actually something you've done a lot before. It's pretty easy. With your charisma and your sharp wit, you can usually convince someone of almost anything. The problem is the woman's gardener, who actually worked her apple orchard or property, recognized you. And you recognized him. And you're not an evil man, so it's not like you're going to run over and, gut stab him. Although you maybe thought about it.
I mean, self-defense does kick in once in a while, but I couldn't do that.
So here you sit in a cell, waiting for whatever they're going to decide to do to you. It's been 3 days. But basically for pretending to be a noble. I mean, you had it all, Jard. You had the paperwork done. You had the signet ring made up. You were ready. You were going to start life anew in the city of New Thur and possibly make yourself into a noble, get voted into office, collect some money, and run.
What a life.
I mean, it's Thur. It's not Garland City, so
Yeah.
it's out in the middle of...
Doesn't sound awfully honest.
Well,
It doesn't sound awfully honest?
I don't
That's
think he
because
is.
it's not.
Just don't see me judging you and your food cart.
Oh,
sure you'll
I
find a
pity
way.
you to judge my food cart.
Mock.
We're not there yet.
Mock.
Yes.
You are currently in the second basement floor of the garrison, where the prison is, and you just got done husking out a bread roll, eating the bread inside of it, seeing that there was mag inside of it, and well, I hope I didn't eat that, and sliding this tray under a door.
Always a bugbear, so.
The prison level is very simple. The staircase comes down.
Potato.
The staircase comes down, and it leads into a single hallway that has a dual portcullis system, so that it takes pulling of a gate over here to open this one and pulling, so that takes 2 guards to open it. So if there's a riot or if there's a mass escape, they can't do it. Which also means whoever works in here has to be kind of ballsy, which is why you're here.
Oh, he's the guard.
So you're making a round. So you walk around what basically is a rectangular pattern with cells. And, actually this would be basement 1 level, my apologies. Basement 1 level, because they all have little windows that look out to the street. Not all of them do, but some of them do. The guy you just gave food to, if you can call it that, the soup's been in the pot for probably a week.
No. I don't eat the soup.
All you know, because they put little papers to tell you what they've done to be put in there, because it's important information to know. Because if he's a master from
Does
the
it
Thieves Guild,
say his last name?
No.
all it says is pretending to be. It doesn't say pretending. It says
Impersonating.
thank you so much. Impersonating a noble.
Impersonating a noble.
Impersonating and faking and forging noble heritage. So there's 3 charges on there: impersonating a noble, forging noble heritage, or forging noble hereditary heritage, It's basically he's screwed.
That's 3 life sentences.
Man, the commission I'm getting off of you.
By the way, you were arrested by the strangest bounty hunter ever. Not strange, intimidating. This bugbear. This huge, red, furred bugbear shows up at the inn you're staying at, kicks in your door. Before you know it, you're being pushed up against the wall, your face being like crushed into the wood paneling,
Okay, I
and
think
he
I-
damn near breaks your
I'm
left
glad I
arm.
changed myself
I'm
to
sorry I
Tony.
tried to stab you.
Otherwise, we'd be confused together. Because
Try to stab him? Oh, God.
Are you saying this in-game? At the door. You hear from behind the muffled door, I'm sorry I tried to stab you, but you can barely hear through the door. Because when you arrested him, he tried to stab you.
Yeah, that was your second mistake.
It was better fight. And I couldn't run. You were in front of
It's
the
always
fucking
the third
door.
option.
Now the question is, what is he eating? Because you gave him moldy bread with maggots in it and bad soup. But he's definitely chewing on something.
There was a window in the room. What are you eating?
Going.
Don't make me come in there.
No, then.
Swear to God, if I have to kick down this door. You know what? You're not worth my time. I continue my rounds.
Definitely an intimidating figure. And the last person you wanted to arrest you in your room that night.
I didn't really want anybody in my room.
Your left elbow still hurts.
Except for
Somebody.
maybe that barmaid that was downstairs. She was pretty cute.
Well, I mean, like, I tried, but you know, I'm only.
Yeah, so did she.
It kind of seems like he's trying to get you to open the cell. I don't know. I'm just saying. But anyways.
You're not worth my time.
I
I
slid
keep
the
going.
plate back. Do it. Whatever the plate was.
He slides a plate with nothing in it. Did he eat soup?
You did?
You didn't eat that. There's. Oh God. I walk away laughing.
He walks
Can I
away.
have some more?
No.
He walks away and begins to make his other rounds. All right. you hear him yell from the door. He yells some profanity. What he just said
Some
from the door.
Meh.
But you're probably used to this.
My life's better than his right now.
Well,
That's
you
what
play
my
that.
guy thinks. That's what my guy thinks.
that is very cute. His life is better. Yeah, I beat the shit out of him. But right now,
Right now, my guy could care less. I mean, if I was flipped around, I'd probably be pissed.
Right.
Yes. But it's all situational. Let's see.
So, the Temple of Rallis and Rhea. A beautiful, giant temple of the twin gods Rallis and Rhea. Well, not twin gods. They call them twin gods, but they're actually a married couple. They just see them as two halves of one whole. Rallis is the god of bravery, courage, and valor, and Rhea is the goddess of compassion, love, and wisdom. And the idea is that they have to be together to make one whole, because you can't have wisdom without valor, because valor without wisdom is stupidity. That makes you blindly charge into things and die. If you have compassion but no courage, then you may feel for people, but you don't do anything about it. So these two gods are complete equals and need each other. And that's how the entire religion of Rallis and Rhea is that these two halves to one whole kind of idea. The Temple of Rallis and Rhea in the city of New Thur is a brand new temple, because it was built when New Thur was built. The old temple lays in the other districts we'll talk about in a moment. There you sit there doing your chapters, Lemon, as you always do, every day, the same chapters every single day.
I mean, I've only been memorizing them for like 3 years. It's okay. They'll let me graduate eventually, right?
Perhaps you are alone doing your chapters in the main hall. By yourself, just sitting. This is how most of your days go. Quietly in front of the giant statues of Rallis and Rhea that sit at the end of this main hall. The rest of the priests and people who belong to the temple, the clerics and such, are out doing their daily business, and they leave you here. You've gotten used to not being given objectives or tasks. So you just delve into your studies. You're pretty sure you know the Book of Rallis and Rhea forward and back and forth, over and over again, 1,000 times. There's not much else for you to do. As you sit, a priest walks in, and he says to you, he kind of like shuffles up behind you, and he says,
Yes, sir?
you turn around and you see a man with no hair on the top of his head, but he's tried to fix that fact by taking a little bit on the sides and combing it all the way over to the side. It would be better if he just shaved his head, but he obviously doesn't know this. And you probably don't want to point it out. He wears a simple brown robe, and he wears predominantly a symbol of Rallis and Rhea, offsetting his poor man's attire by kind of a gaudy predominant symbol of Rallis and Rhea, which is the circle that meets in the middle that look like two cords intertwined. You also have the same symbol. He looks you up and down for a moment. He says, "Are you Priestess Owls?"
Yes.
Good, because you have a task.
Of course.
He hands you for a scroll. His face is pockmarked from probably like acne and days past, and he looks tired. And he seems relieved to pass this on to you. He passes you on a rolled up scroll. The wax seal's already been broken.
They are broken?
Already been broken when he hands it to you. With that, he says,
Neophyte.
he goes, "Have a good day." And turns around, he goes, "Oh, and yes, and Rallis and Rhea be with you," and walks away.
And with you?
Almost like an afterthought. What a crappy priest. Anyways, so you have the scroll.
I look at the scroll.
Under the flicker of the candlelight inside the big empty hall, you unroll the scroll. It says,
What are the seals? Can I still tell what they were?
yeah, it was a symbol of Rallis and Rhea.
Okay.
It says, "Dear Father Joachim." Well, that's not you. You are hereby required to report to the garrison to deliver last rites to a man named Jard Keldon, going under the alias whatever, who is to be put to death 2 days hence. He goes, for 3 counts. He goes, of impersonating a noble, trying to defraud a noble family, and forging noble documents. She goes, go with Rallis and Rhea. And it's signed the captain of the guard. Which, it says like captain of the guard,
Yeah.
right? And then someone signed it,
Right.
but you can't tell what that scrawl says. It looks like a doctor did it,
Okay.
if you knew what a doctor was.
Doctor.
Then I guess I'm going to the
But it's not to you!
Want me to guess that Father Jacobs is the one who handed it to me?
Father Joachim.
Jacob?
That's why he's so angry in his life. Look at his name. Alright, so you make your way to the garrison?
I'm gonna go to the garrison.
Alright.
What I was told to do.
Alright. Bryce. Ayan Omalim Lamalumin. Omalaman. You're up on top of the aqueducts. Or the aqueduct that comes off the mountains to the northwest. And it runs for quite a distance. It's kind of like the most peaceful part of your job, being in the Water Masters Guild, is to walk the aqueduct system. But you're by yourself right now. And you can see almost the whole city before you, because you're such a high level of the aqueduct. You know, come to think of it, if you're ever going to attack this city, this would be a good way to come from. Because it kind of runs right into the city.
Keep that in mind,
Just in case, I'm just throwing it out there.
That is something anyone would notice.
But you can see the cityscape before you, and you can see, pay attention, all of New Thur in it, plus the area of New Thur that's walled off, that's Old Thur. The area that nobody goes to.
So can I see into Old Thur from where
You
I'm
can
at?
see kind of into Old Thur. Imagine, if you will, you can see like this city that's roughly like an oval, looking down from the huge aqueduct system. And 1/5 of it is sectioned off from the rest of the city. It has an outer wall to protect from onslaught, that's new. But the inner wall was hastily built, maybe 15 years ago. New Thur only being like a 17-year-old
like
city.
5 years after I came here, basically.
Yeah. And the reason behind that, you think back upon your time in New Thur, is because when New Thur was first founded on the ruins of Old Thur, a city that had fallen during the Battle of Mephistophelion, some time ago. That that was the only part of Thur that was still standing. And they thought, why not repurpose the old buildings? Let's just use Old Thur and build next to it.
Thought there was a demon.
No one's quite sure if the old part of Thur is actually cursed. Some people more on the that kind of side of life may think, oh, it's cursed. But whatever the case may be, bad things were happening in Old Thur. It used to be the common district or the poor district. People kept vanishing.
So is it
dying.
illegal to go into Old Thur?
It's not illegal, but it's highly
Not recommended?
It's highly not recommended.
It sounds like it was abandoned. It sounds like that's where like scrappers would go and stuff like that.
Yeah, like now the way it works now is they moved the common district out and they locked it off,
Yeah.
and people still sneak in there.
They're not going to stop people, but it's
They don't stop
probably
people.
shouldn't.
The gates are pretty much completely barred going into Old Thur, but it was just kind of left to exist. So for years and years, there's this huge portion of city just sitting abandoned. It almost looks a different color from up here, as the moss and vegetation begins to slowly overtake it that are building around it. You can see like the old wooden roofs of some of the buildings start like to collapse.
I've never noticed anything. I mean, it just looks destroyed. Like
there's all sorts of weird noises that come out of Old Thur all the time, but you know, if you're more logical, that could be simply buildings starting to collapse.
So I definitely would have taken time to like look it up, and I'm sure I would have found what you basically just told me. So.
Yeah, it's just kind of how you look on life. Either it's old and cursed from the dead people who existed there when Thur was destroyed.
We could use testing to deduce whether or not it is actually cursed.
There you go. But
Use
you're
the
usually so
science.
busy with your Water Masters Guild, you kind of just.
So I don't have time for that. What the fuck? It's like someone could do it, not me.
And that's when make a spot check. First roll of the
God,
session.
I have
First roll of the campaign.
-1 spot.
Woo!
He did it.
15.
You did it.
-1.
All right. You peer across into Old Thur, and you're like, wait a minute. You pull out your spyglass. Does not belong to you. Belongs to Water Masters Guild, but you do have it on you as gear if you wish to put it on there. But just remember, if you steal it, you're stealing from the Water Masters Guild.
Fair enough.
You pull it out and you click, 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 click. A buffet of wind sweeps up. No consequence, just letting you know. Sweeps across you. You watch the fog in the distance off the mountains kind of begin to roll in towards New Thur. It's getting towards the ending part of the day. You can see the farmers all coming in off the fields. When you push it out, when you put it up, you're looking out across. As you scan to your left, you see a very, very tiny, tiny person coming out of a temple. Because as you scan across, and she's walking towards the garrison. She has the most ridiculous color of hair I've ever seen. But anyways, that's not your point. You look across. You look towards Old Thur, and there you see what would have been a fountain. Well, not would have been a fountain. It is a fountain.
Non-operational.
Covered in moss. No, it is operational.
That's what caught your eye.
Oh shit.
You see an old moss-covered fountain, and you see water go, and it's like 3 fish. So, what fish are they? Who knows? They're poorly carved stone fish. But 3 nondescript fish. 3 nondescript fish facing in all exactly different directions, based on this old fountain, which is set looks a bit old, like an old merchant square of like what used to be Thur, because they moved Thur over, right? And it's some water comes out. And then like a little more water comes out. And then the fountain begins to run.
Is that hooked up to the rest of the aqueduct system?
Absolutely not. As a water master, a water guild, you belong
That's
to water
bizarre.
guild.
That's been shut off
bizarre.
for like 20 years.
You
And
were-
even if it wasn't shut off, even if it was on, there's nothing hooked up to it as far as I was aware.
No, it shouldn't be. The old water system and the sewer system between Thur, because Thur was a big enough city even back then to have its own. A lot of Garlandian cities don't have sewer systems, but when you become city status, villages don't have sewers. When you become a city status, you get a sewer system. Well, that's pumping out water.
I mean, I'll watch have I done my rounds yet, or
Yeah, you're on your way back. You were checking the inlet from
I'll
the
watch it for a moment longer to see if it does anything else. But if it keeps spraying water, even if it stops.
spot check at +2 because of spyglass.
Sweet. I get +1. Set.
Okay, no, it just seems to be pumping out water.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go back to the guild and report that.
Okay.
Because, excuse me.
Excuse me? You being head back to the guild. 11. You arrive at the garrison.
Hope you have a good
Mock.
lawyer.
There's a knock on the door to the actual
Yeah,
prison
lawyer.
level.
I
It is the faintest of knocks.
I wait to hear if there's another knock.
Okay. You get no response.
I get up and open it.
Door's pulled open. Oh.
Uh,
Mock. Meet Lemon.
What do you want?
Hi. I was sent to provide last rites for a jarred Keldon.
I didn't hear anything about this.
Here's my papers. Father Jacob sent me.
Well, make a... Do you have reading and writing? Do you know how to read?
Yeah, I'm not a reader.
Okay, just checking.
What's your intelligence?
I got a 12 intelligence,
Pretty
man.
smart.
Oh, you're a smart bugbear.
I'm really
I apologize. I apologize.
I don't know if
Um,
we did need to tell.
Make a... Make a... No, you don't need to make it. That would be a dumb roll. It doesn't say to her. It says, Dear Father Joker.
Yeah, that's why I was just gonna be like, this isn't. What's your name?
Lemon.
Where's Father Jacob?
He sent me in his stead. He's still at the temple.
Okay, well I need him.
Can't make it easy.
He doesn't have a name.
I will see if he wishes to come, or perhaps he can give me a different letter.
Make a listen check.
Yeah, because this isn't no normal prisoner, and I'm not losing my commission over this.
Don't expect you to.
Right.
I got a
Alright,
hold.
alright.
9. Okay,
Be back
so you
short.
don't know they're talking about your death. You're trying to figure out a way to get out of the cell.
I'm actually, I'd like to make,
Or whatever you're trying to do.
I'd like to take 10 to look around the room.
Okay.
Well, since I'm not really under.
Did, however, read his last name.
Yeah, but he failed to listen.
Yeah, I know.
I want to look around the room to find something I can use to pick the lock.
I'm not going to let you take a 10 on that. You're going to roll it.
Alright.
That's right.
I take back my papers and I almost jog back to the temple.
Maybe I could use some food to bludgeon at the door?
If you didn't dump
How
it
do you
back.
open a steel door with bread?
He didn't roll
It's
one.
soup.
You rolled a 2, didn't you?
Mhm.
All right.
I'm contemplating that bread. I mean, it was just a husk.
You
so.
threw the bread in the.
You did.
And you know, it's
Now it's
that's where my train of
soggy.
thought's going right now. So.
You did throw it away.
Alright.
Whatever.
I basically jog back to the temple because I have to find Father Jacobs and.
So now he's trying to
I'm
reach
Search
down
check.
that hole to get it.
Meanwhile, you enter the city.
I enter this.
You come into the front guard. He's standing there. The gates to the new Thur are laying open, but he kind of just checks people coming in and out. It's kind of like a Walmart greeter. What's his purpose? We have no idea. Not the greeter, but the guys who check your receipts. But he's just standing there as you walk up, and he goes, "Good day to you."
Good day.
He's got a large pointed metal helmet, bridge nose coverage, metal koi fawn, average build. Looks to be halfway into his job and halfway in another universe.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't really care.
And what can I do for you?
And he goes, what?
Ah, that's right. You need a nail. Here's a nail, and we'll see you later. Look me up in my cart. I'll be at south side. And walk on by.
He takes the ale and looks completely bewildered. He just kind of watches you go in, and he's like, I can't drink on the... If he gets a drink, it's
You can't in
Nice.
two different things.
I got a 16 for my spot for my search.
Alright. You find Jacob sitting on a barrel, the backside of the temple, one leg raised over the other one, smoking a pipe.
Father Jacob.
Oh, he stands up and like he puts the pipe like to go hide it, and he goes, "Ah!" and he drops it on the ground and it burns him. He sits and he goes, "Ah!" and he goes, "Yes, what?"
I'm sorry to interrupt you. The guards won't allow me to go take care of this for you because my name's not on the paperwork.
He's checking the burn mark on his hip from when he tried to shove a lit pipe in his pocket. And he goes,
I've done that.
I can fix that for you.
He starts walking towards the garrison.
I will follow him.
Okay, all right. You go to report this. Are you reporting this to the water master or
Yeah.
the water guild? Okay.
I'm assuming they would want to know. And I work for them.
Okay. You're off shift, Beatrice, and you're waiting outside the Water Masters Guild because his job starts later than yours, but ends. So like you wait for him. You guys usually travel together. You are brother and sister after all. And here he comes. You're sitting there outside messing with your leg because
I always do that.
your clockwork leg starts from right above, or right at the knee, or like kind of like no, actually, yeah, it starts right below the knee, but it's like got a lot of moving parts. So you're always like having your little brush kit and like cleaning it out and doing things like that. And here comes Ann.
I'm probably looking at maps of the aqueducts. Right.
He hasn't noticed you yet. So he's coming down the street. You're waiting outside the water guild.
All right, what's wrong?
What's wrong?
I can tell by the look on your face something's wrong.
Well, there's water where there's not supposed to be water. That's
What?
my job. In the old town, there's water.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Sorry.
Cool.
I know. Well, not really cool.
Oh,
I mean,
I meant not cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What are you doing?
I was gonna go report it.
I'll go with.
Okay.
She stands up her leg.
So you have to go to work.
I can walk with you.
Well, you're off work.
Oh.
Yeah, I just
But,
Yeah,
but,
I'm off
but then again, Ann is like social awkward and doesn't remember things.
we're
So
Yeah.
both socially awkward with each other.
it's like the greatest conversation ever. How you doing?
That original Alien had 7 wisdoms.
So like
But
they
we understand
they
each other,
need
so
each
it's
other
fine.
because without each other they're nothing.
completely lost.
We want to buy something from a store. It takes two of us. One of us asks a question, runs away, and the other one stands there crying.
Well, if I have the things in my arm when I leave, how do I open the door?
Exactly.
So
They're like the perfect brother sister ever. Oh, so amazing. All right, there's a knock on the door. Open.
Yes,
Father
on
Joker.
my way.
You open the door. Right.
Hello.
Father Joker there, and he goes, "Oh,
I needed your approval before I had her sign off.
yes, you, town's guardsman. Rules. She's here to perform the last rites. I have things to attend to."
Wonderful. Thank you.
And then with that, he walks away. You just get the feeling this guy's a total asshat, but whatever. With that, he walks away, leaving Lemon standing there, I'm guessing?
You didn't have him
Hey, I'm
make
back.
sure you signed the papers on triple.
She squeaks.
Can I go do the last rites?
Yes.
Never seen anyone so excited about it.
No one's so excited about Radio Man's last
First
rites.
assignment.
I have
Never get out of the temple. This is exciting.
Until you realize that you're
So
helping kill.
Um,
do you have a
Let me-
I can stand on to
let me-
peek through the
Let me talk to the man first.
thing, or I mean, he's changing the wall, right? We're all good. Just let me in.
Take the wall.
No,
You don't chain people to the wall here.
I don't need to chain people to the wall here.
They just blast themselves to the wall when he walks in.
I slam open the slider.
Ah!
You're gonna be talked to by a priestess. Show some respect.
I would do nothing but.
You
I grab her.
you break the little
Not
knob
nice
handle on the
language.
slider. You break it off.
Oh, I muttered that under my breath.
Yeah, I go grab her stool and I kind of like shimmy that fucking thing open again.
He takes his bugbear clawed finger and opens it back up, grabs you a stool, puts it in the spot. You stand on it. Even on the stool, she has to. She's like me. She has to stand on her tippy toes to reach that top thing in the freezer.
You need a stool on that stool.
No. But you're very considerate. I like pet his shoulder.
Don't.
Sorry.
He's not a doggo.
Really soft.
Don't touch me.
He's just don't touch me.
So soft.
Do you pet a bear that walks on 2 legs?
Yes!
Well, because Lemon's Y has been incredibly dumb. No, I'm just kidding.
Nice.
Before
It was more of like
before
a
we headed
hat
down
that
here,
turned into
I
a-
got another guardsman to watch
Okay.
the front because obviously I'm not gonna leave
You're
it
like,
unattended.
point. You don't even know his name. Like, you, here. He's like, okay.
Yeah.
Goes over and he stands there. So, you're looking in. You see this bright yellow hair, this forehead, and these eyes like peek into the slit.
Hi.
Did they send a halfling?
Are you Mr. Keldon?
What? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Then come here.
Respect.
I almost heard. What?
Are you sure you can't just let me go in there with him?
Pretty sure.
I raise my voice.
Okay.
Mr. Keldon, I'm here to do your last rites before you're put to death.
Yes!
What?
Sorry.
God,
Jard, make a saving throw versus fear.
Hold on.
What?
Hold on.
The guard who's standing there, this unnamed guard, this like 22-year-old guy, he's sitting there, he's like, I didn't know this is how we do things.
I open the
You
door.
didn't tell me what was
The door.
I push you in.
You hear the click clack of
Did
the
you
keys.
let me get off the stool first, or did you just push me?
I just fucking pushed you in, and I came in afterwards and I closed the door.
So there's
tried
this
to
click
land on
clack.
my
The door flies open. Reflex save. We roll for everything.
Oh,
This
yes.
is I do it when
That's
people are on their like
21.
Okay, so Lemon's able to keep her footing, and she like stumbles in and stands, and this bugbear walks up behind her. But she kind of.
anybody tries to get through this door, strike them.
This last you see is the guard holding like his weapon. Like look up and like, huh? And the door closes.
Just like you. I don't want you to get hurt.
Can you hear me now, Mr. Kelvin?
I'm sorry for. Wow, you're small.
Thanks. I'm fun-sized.
All right. What's this about last rites? I'm not understanding.
I was sent to perform your last rites because you were to be put to death for your crimes. And I
What
am
the shit?
I am here to bring you any peace and atonement, repentance that you would like to give.
This so pause. Boop. That's a little harsh for this.
I don't have a smile on my face, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm not smiling in game.
Yeah. This is like exceptionally harsh. Like, yeah, you're gonna spend some prison time and you're gonna find a way to escape and all that kind of stuff. That's what you do, right? Hopefully. But this seems excessively harsh. You know, the being dead thing. Anyways, keep going.
Maybe they found out I kept getting out of prison.
Whoa,
Maybe.
whoa. Where's my trial?
Who did you impersonate?
I impersonated no such
May I see your
person.
character sheet, please?
No one.
Thanks, sir.
It is not my fault
Right.
somebody thought I was somebody else.
Aren't
I
the
can't control
Kelvins
what they
already
think.
a noble family?
This is a famous family, I thought. Like a wealthy family.
They're
I'm
aristocrat
sure
by
they
by
are.
power.
Yeah.
Alicia,
Not-
what's your alignment?
Neutral good.
It might bother you a little bit to get a trial, but you're not lawful. You're chaotic. You could get two.
I mean, I could care less. I'm just trying to
He's like, I'll do it
figure
now.
I
out.
was trying to see if someone could say you because they're lawful. Be like, wait, you didn't get a trial, but
Well,
no one cares.
I have an idea.
You're gonna try. That sounds about right.
Look, out of
mean,
game.
whoa, whoa,
Out of
if
game.
Okay.
I-
I need to talk to an arbitrator.
If you
Oh, he called for an arbitrator. Now you have to get him one.
Rules.
Like, you're chaotic. You're chaotic. It's just like, good move. You're chaotic, but
I'm
you know
sorry.
how this works. So that's your decision to make. But as the guard or anybody else, because you know she's not technically part of the system. And Ramos Ray, the temple isn't the part of the system either. They just try to do this for people that get told are getting put to death. Like, you could probably bring this up to certain people who would try to give an arbiter too, because Ramos Ray is not a religion that goes around like putting people to death. But the rules say, by Garolinian law, that now that he's called for an arbiter, he needs one.
Okay.
So now you got to send for an arbiter.
An arbiter. Shut the fuck up. Get out of the room. We're coming out.
And he opens up and he goes, "Oh, is he dead?" And he
I call the 9 direct.
I put my foot in your chest and sit you down.
Oh, she makes an attack roll.
No, I don't attack. I just
Okay.
sit
Okay,
down.
so he just
Yeah.
kind of like push.
Can I roll
Your-
around?
Your
Well, we'll
arbiter
get into
will
combat.
be here shortly.
This has been a bad thing.
You know the arbiter buys you time, but you can attempt to make a. It's your choice. You're okay.
I think I'm still
I
in the
might
middle of
know.
this somewhere.
Yes, you are right in the
much do you
middle.
Because
think
I'm
I could
pretty
get
sure
for a Kelvin?
Mock was in front of me and Jard's
But you're so
behind
small.
me.
All it would take is like you telling me
What do
you want to
need
get out of the
it
way.
for?
How much do you think I could get for a Kelvin?
Well, I don't know. This is an armed guy.
don't
Picking
know.
I
on
don't
an
know. Right
unarmed
now they're
guy.
having some sort of weird conversation. I think about
I don't
bribing.
know that I'm who you think I am.
Meanwhile, while they're discussing this,
I need my arbitrator.
we get back to the
We'll do
Watermasters Guild. The Watermasters Guild looks like it has a water wheel on top of it. But it doesn't attach to water.
Fake water wheel.
It's just a fake water wheel to symbolize it as it was easier to use the old water wheel from Old Thur to put up there.
Well,
to use
you're in
this.
charge of all water. You're probably really rich. So
It's actually kind of a cool like 4-structure building that was joined together. It's one of the few remnants of Old Thur that was kept. So it's an old grain silo, but instead of like a windmill turning, it's an old water wheel that just spins in the air.
That's great.
You guys walk inside, and there you see your boss.
Maybe the old aqueduct broke, and then rainfall pulled up, and then the back pressure caused. Is it?
Sometimes.
Some. I was asking whether or not you thought at all. I was asking what you thought about what I said.
Sometimes.
Seems a little unlikely.
And I didn't even notice these.
Yeah. Inside,
I noticed.
inside this place is stacked with nothing but maps, pamphlet, papers, and tax accounting. It looks like someone threw up a library in here.
Right.
No one really visits the office who doesn't work here, so it's not meant for like visitors to come.
Right.
So it's not like you're visiting. You work here. You have a desk.
Yeah.
And the only person here right now is technically the guy who runs the water guild, and he is a noble in name only. His family has no money. He got this job out of his placement. He's a nice enough guy. You can't recall his name at the moment because you've never made enough talk to understand it.
I do that a lot.
You just call him Watermaster because he's the Watermaster. He's the Watermaster of the Water Guild.
Right.
You just work for the Water Guild.
One day I'll be the water master. They'll all rule the day.
I'll rule your faucets. So.
Take a bath? No, you can't.
Oh, that's right. He has a nameplate on his desk. His name's Gerald.
Gerald.
He looks up and he goes, "Yes." So he's a gaunt man, older. He's a nice enough guy. Spectacles, bridge on his nose.
I don't know if it's a problem, but
Seems like.
the fountain in the old town, the water's running.
What?
When I was checking the aqueducts, when I was coming back, I spotted something in the old town when I took out my spot. One of the fountains, there's water coming out.
Could be rain.
I thought it might be the aqueduct broke open, the underground
He
aqueduct.
like looks at her and he's
and
like,
then a backflow of rain, like the rainwater collected. And eventually,
"Oh."
that's what I thought it might have been, but I have no idea.
He sits there for a minute and goes, "Huh, weird. It shouldn't be running at all."
That's what I thought.
Very well then. Let's
We can check it out.
I've heard it's cursed, though. I mean, everyone says that. I've never been in there.
Alice and Ray will be with us. It's fine.
He goes, "Oh, I don't think we'll be sending anyone into the old part of Thur. He
Can't
goes,
be that bad.
at least not on official like Watermaster business." He goes, "Wait a minute." He goes, "Wait a minute. Wait a minute." He
hire the
stands up.
militia.
"Wait a minute."
Wait.
And he keeps saying that. He's like, "Wait a minute, wait a minute." He starts reaming through papers. And he goes, and he pulls out a piece of paper and he goes, "Maybe this has something to do with this." He hands you a piece of paper. He goes, "I was going to have you look into that." He goes, "There were some people in the common district getting sick." He goes, he raises his hands up and he goes, "Why don't you take that to the mayor and see if he wants something done about it?"
What is it?
So you scroll over the paper, and it's reports. Now, this is an unfortunate side effect of this kind of world and the class system. It seems as though people are getting sick in the commons,
Yeah.
in the poor district.
Well, the aqueduct doesn't run through the entire city, right? So.
No, it doesn't. But the people are getting sick in the common district. But the people in the common district get their water from the river. And then, they boil it and stuff like that or whatever. But they're getting sick. And the person writing the report, who's a water master who works in the poor district, because there is actually a sewer system stored in the commons,
Right.
is saying that, they think that has something to do with the water intake. And it kind of fits. And if it doesn't fit, it's at least,
Yeah. I mean, if something was broke and the water was cooling in the wrong direction or something, it's possible.
Unfortunately, it just takes a while when stuff happens to people who don't have a voice, it takes a while.
I'm willing. You want me to talk to the mayor? You want me to talk to the mayor?
I'll go with you.
You want us to talk to the mayor?
I guess I could.
Well,
If you want to get him to do it, make a
I
diplomacy.
don't want him to do it. I'm just surprised he wants me to do it. I mean, I'm not trying to convince him to do it. I'm just like, me? Of all people?
It's
He's
amazing.
like, "Well, I understand that I'm the water master." He goes, "Honestly," he goes, "nobility terrifies me."
Wait a minute. What I thought... Never mind. Sure.
Wait a minute, aren't you a noble?
Yeah, I was about to say that.
He goes, I don't ever know what to say around them. He goes, yes, I know my family comes from blood, but that was ages ago. And he goes, and we don't.
Well, all people come from blood. We are blood.
Yes.
I like talking to people.
Yeah. She's better talking to people than me.
Very well then.
Yeah,
He goes, I think it's settled. Why don't you go talk to see if you can get an audience with the mayor, see if he wants to set an exploratory committee, perhaps get the water.
Am I getting paid overtime?
Sorry, I'm not. I can't allow for any overtime for this.
It's just a joke.
That's for the best.